Hi, my name's Ashley. I'll be addressing the concepts of risk towards emergency services and how they related to events resulting from Hurricane Katrina. First, it's important to know the difference between risk assessment and risk analysis. Risk analysis is the process of identifying the probable threats and the vulnerabilities that are presented due to those threats. Risk assessment is then the process of evaluating the controls in place and their ability to reduce those potential threats. So as an example, say my car window won't roll up. Risk analysis would allow me to know that it's forecast to rain and that the potential for my interior to get wet, possibly damaged, exists. I can determine that there is a presented threat due to the vulnerabilities. Risk assessment would give me options to cover my windows with plastic and tape, or a tarp to keep the rain out, or seek an alternative parking option, which is indoors, such as a garage, to control the exposure to the threat. Now to the meat and potatoes. Risk analysis tells us that New Orleans is below sea level. This makes the area prone to flooding, which is controlled by a system of levees, flood walls, bridges, gates, culverts, and canals. The flooding from Katrina was severe enough to impact multiple critical infrastructure sectors, such as dams, communications, energy, government facilities, transportation, and emergency services. Many of these sectors overlap and created somewhat of a domino effect, with one sector affecting another. Risk assessment was thought of to a degree with the control system, but the process could have been repeated with a separate risk analysis on those levees, culverts, canals, etc. This continued analysis and the subsequent assessment would have allowed a plan B of sorts to account for a failure occurring at one or many points. Ultimately, the loss of transportation capabilities made emergency services extremely difficult. Traditional units used as first responders, such as police, fire departments, and EMTs, were unable to reach victims. Next, ethical and legal issues. Much can be said about the criticism of the government response. Unclarity on who had authority and when decisions could be made significantly delayed emergency response systems. Ethical and legal issues could also arise from emergency responders' way of handling the chaos that followed the storm. The occurrence of police shootings and reports that police were authorized to shoot looters, take back the city, or do what you have to do create ethical issues of racial stereotyping, the use of lethal versus non-lethal force, and legal issues as to the extent of martial law, whether it existed or not, and to what degree police used force against nonviolent acts. This also questions the role of emergency services and the guidance or tasking they receive. Theoretical concepts help us shape disaster policy and how we address risk in much the same way we've learned that criminological theory helps us shape how we address crime, criminal policy, and criminal law. Theories and concepts often serve as tools one can apply to study of specific subjects or problems. As emergency management is evolving into a profession, we must rely on theories, concepts, and abstract knowledge, as well as experienced learning and experimental research. Within Homeland Security, theoretical concepts could be applied to risk assessment to address behavior at local government level, such as the Jeffersonian model. Focus on the desired results, as with the Hamiltonian model, or even the Jacksonian model, advocating decentralization with stronger local and direct government. Each approach will have unique strengths and weaknesses, as well as legislators who agree or disagree, which is why it's important for theoretical approach to be analyzed for pros and cons and reevaluated depending on what assessments are put into motion. There's my photo credits and my resources, and thanks for watching and listening.